for joining us today. We are going to start it out with Dave Biddle from 247 Sports. Dave, this off.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for doing this. I just want to ask you about the balancing act that you have to walk in terms of getting your team ready for the season while still preventing injuries. I mean, just what is it like to make sure you do enough live stuff in practice where you're getting your guys ready to block and tackle and do everything you need to do while still not doing too much of it where, because you want to limit injuries? Is that a difficult balancing act for you?
Yeah, and not only is it difficult, it's not even a daily conversation. It's an hourly conversation that we're having with our staff because, we have to make sure that we're ready to tackle, that we're ready to come off the ball and ready to take care of the football in all phases, offense, defense, and special teams. So there's a fine line there. We have, a big practice tomorrow in the Horseshoe. We'll be in the stadium. We'll have an opportunity to bring people to the ground there. But you got to get that work in, real soon, probably by the middle of next week. You got to have a lot of that taken to the ground behind you so that as you get closer to the first game, you're keeping guys healthy. But the only way to get ready to play football is to play football. And if you have a whole preseason to get ready, that's one thing. But this is unique. And so we're going to have to tackle. We're going to have to really work at that and figure out creative ways to get our guys ready to play because, there's no wasted time as Nebraska's coming in here on the 24th. We've got to be ready to roll.
And how do you envision things kind of working out at running back this year for you guys? I know it's obviously very early, but do you think it's going to be running back by committee? Do you envision one guy kind of being that lead guy? Just how do you think things are going to kind of go at running back for you guys?
We'll see. I mean, we have more depth there than we've had in a long time. We have right now, we feel good about 5 of our guys. Marcus is still, coming off of that ACL, but we have good depth there. We're going to play depth. We've always liked to play depth. So as we get into these first couple of weeks, it's a good battle. Master's the incumbent and obviously did a great job last year. And then Trey's come in and done a really good job as well. Both really versatile, but the other guys have done a really nice job as well. Xavier Johnson's done a really good job. Steele Chambers and now Mayan's really getting an opportunity to play. So, all 5 of those guys are doing a great job and looking forward to get Marcus back. So a lot of depth there, which is exciting. And that competition will continue.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, next up we have Bill Landis from The Athletic with Austin Ward on deck. Bill.
Hey, Ryan. Justin said maybe a week or so ago that there were times, I guess, but before you all got back to practicing kind of full go like you are now, where he and you got a lot of one-on-one time to work on his mechanics and just sort of talk about the intricacies of the position. And I'm wondering, in those times, what came across to you in terms of how much Justin has grown sort of maybe in the mental aspect of the game, but also, the finer points of playing the position, whether that's mentally or physically?
Yeah, I think, Corey Dennis has done a really good job during this time of meeting with the quarterbacks. He's got a unique situation. He's got, somebody who's come back and has a whole year under his belt, and then some young guys in there that he's got to kind of catch up to speed. So he's done a good job there. But when Justin and I have had an opportunity to be together and talk football, it's been really refreshing because I think one of the things for Justin is things have come easy to him, whether it's on the field and, he learns things quickly. And so what I've seen with him in the second year is his approach. I mean, he's really on it in meetings. He's alert. He's asking hard questions. He's taking notes. He's really on it. And I think when you have a year under your belt, you realize the consequences of every game, every snap, the preparation that comes in play. He asks the right questions going into practice. If he's not sure, he makes sure he has it right. And then he also is holding people accountable. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, it's usually on the quarterback, the offense coordinator, and the head coach. And so he understands that now. So if things aren't exactly the way that he sees it, he gets with those guys. He has those communications. So his leadership's been excellent.
And are you guys giving DeJuan Jones a look at guard at all? I thought I saw maybe a picture where it looked like DeJuan was playing guard.
Yeah, DeJuan's done some really good things for us this year. He's somebody that has a lot of athletic ability and has some good versatility. So, yeah, we've moved him around a little bit. And he's somebody that we hope can play and get on the field for us this year.
Next up is Austin Ward from Lettermen Row with Tony Gerdeman on deck. Austin.
Ryan, when you talk about creativity with the practice, how does that extend to Gunner and the freshman quarterbacks? You've talked before about Justin needing a bunch of reps to get ready. How will you manage the backups behind him so that you can maybe sort through a competition there?
Yeah, you try to do everything you can to make sure Justin's ready to go. That's the number one priority. So he gets the reps with the ones, and then we split up the reps with the twos. When we go to 7-on-7, we try to equal them out a little bit more and allow those guys to get more reps in the 7-on-7. But really, what we're doing is, Jack and CJ are both getting a bunch of reps with the twos, and we try to mix Gunner in as much as we can. Gunner had kind of last year, and so we're trying to get the other guys up and running because they didn't have a spring or a preseason to kind of see where we're at because we have such a short preseason leading into this. And then as time goes on, Gunner will start getting more and more reps. But it's been good. I think all three of those guys, CJ, Jack, and Gunner have done a really good job of picking up the offense, and since they've been here. And they're going to have to be ready to go because this year, you have to have depth at every position. So that's a very, very important area that we have to make sure that those guys are ready. They're one snap away. They're one day away from being in that first game. So they've got to do a good job. And, Corey Dennis has done a good job up to this point.
Is it possible at all with CJ and Jack that you guys haven't had a chance to see them in a live setting? Would you ever make a quarterback live in a practice just to see how they respond or take some hits, especially, the young guys where you don't have any idea really how they'd respond?
Probably not, but I'm not saying no because I'd like to see how this weekend goes and see what it looks like, see how it feels, and take it one day at a time. I'm trying not to say always and never right now because things change so fast. But it's not something we've typically done, but doesn't mean we won't do it. Like to your point, we got to know what we have going into the first game, if something were ever happen. And so we'll see. But as of right now, that they're not live.
Thanks, Ryan.
Right up next is Tony Gerdeman from Buckeyes Scoop with Nathan Baird on deck. Tony.
Ryan, given how well Pete Werner played last year at Sam, how involved were you in the decision to move him to Will?
Like everything else, we talk about it. We meet every day and have great conversation. I think that, Greg Madison and Al Washington, both felt like, Pete could really have an impact in there at Will. And so he's picked that up really fast. I mean, I couldn't be more impressed with the way he's approached this summer, the way he's approached the last couple of weeks. He's like a professional and he's a leader. He sees things fast. He diagnoses things fast. He can do a lot of things. He's very versatile. I think he's going to have a major impact at Will. I think it's a great position for him.
Any trepidation based on everything he was able to do for you guys last year?
Well, we'll see, based on our depth, what the best fit and the best mix is. I don't think we've come up to that decision yet. I mean, that's still a work in progress. And if that were to happen, it is. But I think he can have a better impact in there at Will. And as we project it out, we see that being the best position for him. But like you said, that could change quickly as we know. So we'll kind of see. But the good thing about Pete is he can handle a high level of information. He can process information quickly. And I think he can handle two positions if it comes down to that.
And then real quick, have you heard anything from the NCAA about how scholarship limits are going to work in the next period of time with everybody getting a free year this year?
Yeah. There's a process. It's a long process. It's a very confusing metrics that, it took me about 3 hours to sit down with Mark Pantoni to kind of figure it all out. This is kind of a +1 based on seniors and years of eligibility. It's confusing. It's not easy, but I don't see us being over 85 even next fall as I project it all out with guys leaving to go to the NFL, guys graduating, different things. I still think we'll be at 85 for us, but we'll see. And it's going to be something we're going to have to continually talk about and work through.
Thank you.
Right up next is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com with Dan Hope on deck. Nathan.
Hey, Ryan, last year you talked about how you brought in that vision of the three corners and the single high safety and how that kind of set the stage for what you guys did defensively. Curious, Kerry is talking a lot more about doing like multiple looks on defense. It's sort of like, I guess, an offensive model, bringing that to the defensive side. How much leeway does he have as far as designing what the defense will look like this year? And I guess, what do you think of just that concept in general, like putting in more multiple looks and personnel groups and things like that on the defensive side?
Yeah, always looking at things. And that's one of the things about this off season, whether it's on offense or defense, is that, we've had so much free time to think and draw stuff up and investigate different people's schemes. But at the end of the day, you got to find out what you do well. And, to answer your question about, whose decision that is, it's everybody over there. And I think, that's what's great about the defensive staff is that, you have Larry, you have Greg, you have Kerry, and then you have Al and Matt, and they all get together on this thing and they talk it through and they work through it, and they, do a great job communicating to our players. And so at the end of the day, we're just going to try to figure out what best fits the guys, because this year's group is different than last year's group. And that's, I think I've said this a million times, is that's the key to being a great college coach, is being able to adapt to the personnel that you have to put them in the best position to be successful. And so that's what we're searching for, and where that takes us, we'll see.
Along those same lines with the coaching staff, Virginia Tech ran into a situation last weekend where they were missing 4 coaches. I think they even found out, like, maybe the morning of the game they weren't going to have their defensive coordinator. What sort of contingencies are you planning for right now? And do you use any of the sort of scrimmage opportunities you might have between now and the start of the season to do those in a way that you haven't had to in the past?
Well, let me first say that this has been a difficult time, because we understand the ramifications and the consequences for our health, but also just in terms of playing a season of testing positive. And that's for the players, and they've made great sacrifices, but it's also for the coaches. And it's very difficult because, for those of us who have school-age children at home, it's very, very difficult. And, to make sacrifices. And, some of us are not sleeping in our homes, and it's not easy. And so we're trying to figure all that part of it out. So that's the first thing that I don't know if anybody realizes the sacrifice that everybody's making in order to try to play this season. And yes, to answer your question, we have contingency plans for a lot of reasons. There's false positives that happen. There's all kinds of things that could show up. So we have to have that in place. We had that in place going into the preseason. We've had these conversations that if somebody were to go down, what would happen next? And, between Kevin and I on offense, we call it together, and it's the same thing with Kerry and Greg on defense. So we feel pretty good there. Something that ever happened to Matt Barnes, I think Parker Fleming could step into that role and we could put him there. So, we have really good contingency plans in place, and we just keep talking about them. And when they come up, we'll address them.
All right, next up is Dan Hope from 11 Warriors with Kyle Rowland on deck. Dan.
Ryan, on the player side of that, obviously you guys have to be prepared for the possibility of losing, anybody for 3 games at a time. So does that change the way that you build a depth chart for this season? Do you have to be 3 deep or 4 deep?
It's not going to really change the way that we build it, but it's just something that, we make sure the guys understand, is that they're 1-2 plays away, or like you said, at any point they could be, starting or even backups. And so with our team of 120 guys, that's everybody there. We're going to need them all. And it's just more of an awareness and understanding that, guys just aren't scout team players, because typically, as you get to this time of year, you start to just kind of split up into scout team. And so that's not the case. Guys need to be engaged. They need to be ready to go. People talk about the next man up mentality, but it's going to take all of us to get this done. So we're not really changing how we practice, but it's just more of awareness, and it's more of accountability across the board.
You mentioned, those sacrifices that you all have to make as coaches. Just how hard is it for you, to have to kind of manage all these different things while also trying to prepare your team to try to go win a national championship?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge for sure, but it's the same challenge for everybody, and we're all under the same rules and the same, situation and scenario. So we just have to handle it better than everybody else. I'm not saying it's easy, certainly isn't. But it's like going to play a game, in rainy weather. Both teams have to deal with it. The team that deals with the best is going to prevail. And that's kind of the way we have to approach this. It's not perfect, but we just got to handle it better than our opponents.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yep.
All right, next up is Kyle Rowland from the Toledo Blade and Jared Smalley on deck. Kyle.
Hey, Ryan. The quality of play hasn't been a thing of beauty so far this year. A lot of that's had to do with outbreaks teams have had, and it's limited their practice time. The Big Ten's plan with doing such significant testing, I think we're a month out from the season. Do you think that'll kind of alleviate issues for Big Ten teams, and you guys will be more in sync when you start?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's yet to be written. I don't know. I think that some of it is, like you said, the testing positive. Some of it is guys getting injured and then being out for 2 to 3 weeks leading up to the season. There's a lot of things at play there. Some of it is, maybe they didn't practice as much as they typically have for whatever reason that is. So I don't know. It's something that we're talking about as a coaching staff every day, trying to figure out, how some teams in the NFL or, college football have dealt with situations, who's had success, who maybe hasn't, what the glaring issues are and how we can try to get ahead of those things.
Hey, you gonna get in trouble for wearing a blue mask?
Yeah, that's not an option.
All right, next up is Jared Smalley from WCMH with Doug Lemerise on deck. Jared.
Hi, Ryan. Wanted to ask you about the unique situation you have going into the opener this year. Typically, a coach would have a plan to play so many guys coming out of training camp and get a look at them in game action. But because of the unique situation this year, playing a conference game, playing a good team, how do you view that roster management as you go into the first game?
It's unique. It's different. You have to rely on the guys that have experience, that what they've done, because you at least know what they've done in the past. They have a body of work. And then you try to do the best you can for those who maybe don't have a body of work over these next few weeks to try to get some experience and figure out what you can expect when they go on the field. You really don't ever really know, but we're trying to put them in the stadium. We're trying to put them in the live situations. We're trying to put them into game situations the best we possibly can so we can project. You're right. Before a conference schedule, if you have a few games ahead of time, you have a little bit better feel of what to expect. We don't have that luxury this year. So we'll just work through it and try to figure out best ways to create a game environment in practice and go from there.
And Ryan, one question for you on your young receivers. We saw a little video clip your team put together of them, I guess it was last week, and they can make phenomenal catches, undoubtedly. Obviously, there's a lot more to it than that when it comes to getting on the field at receiver. How is that group developing, and do you anticipate a few of those guys being significantly involved in your planning?
Yeah, well, some of them are going to have to play. We don't have a ton of depth there, so they're going to have to step up in a big way. And it goes back to, this, once you put the pads on, it's no longer 7-on-7 or rivals football camp. I mean, you got to block, you got to catch the ball, you got to take care of the football. It's all those things. You got to play tough. Late in drives, you got to push through fatigue, all those things that come up in playing a game. There's certainly a lot of talent there, but those guys are going to have to step up in those areas. And yeah, we're going to have to play young, and we're going to have to play some depth there. And that's just the way it's going to be. It's the way it's always been. Yeah, there's a chance there. We just have to kind of see how it goes and see how those guys can handle playing in a game situation and taking care of the little things and playing hard and strong and tough.
Thanks.
All right, next up is Doug Lemerise from Cleveland.com with Adam Rittenberg on deck. Doug.
Hey, Ryan, following up on some of the safety stuff, how do you envision, I know it's still early, but the battle with Josh Proctor and Marcus Hooker back there, and what's the difference of maybe those guys fighting for a spot versus also preparing at times to maybe play together back there? I'm just kind of wondering how safety's unfolding so far.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think both those guys bring an interesting skill set, and like you said, they're going to be out there together a decent amount as well. We can come up with packages where they both will be out there, and they should be. I mean, they're guys who have now been in the program for multiple years, and this is their year to step up. I think they've both done a very good job. They both bring different skill sets. Marcus is a rangy guy who can, really, he's got good ball skills. He can read a quarterback's demeanor and drive on the ball. Proctor has really good range, good length. He can blitz. You guys remember, some of the games last year he blitzed. He's physical, but he also can cover. So both of those guys are very active so far in early in camp, and I think both of them are going to have a huge impact on the season if they just continue to develop. And Kerry's doing a great job with them.
And then just going back a little bit, we've covered this some with you, but when Christina Johnson came in as the new president, I'm just curious, maybe the first time you actually talked to her or got to have a conversation with her, and just what you think. What does a good relationship look like between a football coach and a university president at a school like Ohio State?
Yeah, Christine has been excellent. The communication has been wonderful. Had several conversations, over the phone early on, and then she came in and actually came by one of our workouts, had a conversation there, and then had an opportunity to go to her house about a week ago and have dinner. Socially distanced with Gene Smith and some of the other fall coaches, which is wonderful. And but to answer your question there, I think what is a healthy relationship? I just think one of communication, one of respect, and one of alignment. And I think one of the great things we have right now here at Ohio State is we have alignment from the president, the athletic director, and the head coach. And honored to call them my bosses, and got a lot of respect for the way she handled this whole situation.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, next up is Adam Rittenberg from ESPN with Clay Hall on deck. Adam.
Hey, Ryan, just following up on what you said about the sacrifices that you and your staff are making. Was that like an individual discussion with each coach, or how did you kind of figure out, who was going to not be at home, who was going to be at home, and how you're going to manage that?
Yeah, didn't certainly put any guidelines in place or tell somebody how to handle their business at all. We just talked about how having school-age children who are going to school is a risk. They're at school, they're exposed. Some of the young youth, sports leagues are still going on and they're playing. And so it's an exposure and it's an unknown. And so to be aware of it, and, each guy's handling it their own way. And it's, it isn't easy because, they're school age kids are, going to school and coming back in, and then you have your wives. And so it's hard. It's not easy. It's a new dynamic, and, it's a challenge for all of us, but, letting each guy handle it, their own way.
Have you guys figured out kind of opportunities for them to still see each other, just kind of socially distant at the facility or anything like that, or just so they're able to see each other a little bit?
Well, yeah, not at the facility. We can't have them come here, but at home, yeah, we try to do as much as we can about being outside and socially distancing and still trying to figure it all out. I know, my family, we're still trying to figure this part of it out. This is all new to us. It's a major challenge, but we're working through it and trying to figure out what's best. But like you said, right now it's kind of more outside and even, when I go in the house, I'm wearing a mask and then, trying to figure all that part of it out. But yeah, it's one of those things that our staff, is very, very concerned about, their day-to-day operation. Here when we're in the building, we feel really, really safe. The daily tests that we're going through, we know there's 170 people that test daily that are clean. It's a great feeling to know in this building when you're around our bubble right here, you're good. But once you leave here, everything changes, and it's honestly, it's scary because it can ruin your whole season just like that one day with one exposure. So yeah, it's something that's always, and we can't get tired of it. We talk about it every day, and I think sometimes the coaches and the players look at me like, Coach, I know we have to be smart, but if you get tired of it and you take a deep breath, it'll get you real fast. So trying to be really good and on top of it.
Thanks.
All right, up next is Clay Hall from WSYX with Joey Kaufman on deck. Clay.
Hey, Coach. How many position battles are you having right now? I realize it's fairly early in camp. Is right tackle up for grabs, or is that nailed down at this point?
All positions are up right now. I know you'll laugh at me and you say Justin Fields, but everybody. So we're all competing right now. There's no depth chart put together. Everybody's out there competing and fighting and getting reps, and you just don't know right now what's going to happen in a week. So there's no use putting a depth chart out right now. We'll just keep competing, giving guys reps and banking those reps and see where we're at here in another week or two.
You said you're going in the shoe tomorrow. Could you see this kind of being like a high school atmosphere where these guys can actually hear their mom and dad or yelling at them, or what? Does it take any edge off the competition that you're in this empty place?
I think for some it can, and this is something that we've talked about at length as a team, is that you have to bring your own energy, and being in an empty stadium is unique. We went last Saturday. We're going to go again today. We're going to try to pipe in a little bit of music and maybe have some crowd noise as we move into next week, just so that they get a feel for what that really is going to be like. I know the Big Ten is still trying to get the guidelines around what game day is going to be like in terms of piping in music and noise and what that means when the ball's being snapped. So yeah, we're going to try to replicate that the best we can, but we know it's not like playing in front of over 100,000 people every day or every week, excuse me. And so we're going to have to bring our own energy. When you run out of that tunnel, it's going to be a different feel. But like I said to the guys, you just have to know that Buckeye Nation, even though they're not there in the stadium, they're with you, and they're millions strong, from coast to coast and even outside the country, and we just have to understand that, and that is unique. It's different, and so we'll keep talking about that and addressing it and make sure our guys understand.
Thank you.
All right, last set of questions today will come from Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Ryan, just to clarify what you said earlier about 170 people being tested and they're clean, that means nobody's tested negative yet for you guys?
Yeah, so we don't get into who's tested, positive, negative, anything like that. But what I was saying was, we have 170 that we test. So we test 120 guys on the team, and then we test 50 guys in terms of staff and different people that have what we call tier one, have close interaction with our players. And so at any moment, every day we get that test in the morning, and 15 minutes later you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And so, obviously, if there was a positive, you'd have to go home and then take a PCR test to confirm it, so that if it was a false positive, you would know that it was confirmed at that point. And so, while there are some false positives, that's why the PCR is in place. But one thing for sure is that if you have everybody that tests negative for that 24 hours, you have a clean operation, and that's the idea.
And just as far as practicing at the shoe, are you guys doing that more this preseason than you've done in the past?
Yes.
Is there any benefit for it?
I think so. I mean, it's like when we get done with the game, I saw Belichick's interview when they asked him if you ever seen anything like that first game, and he said, yeah, practice. So it kind of made me think, why don't we just practice in the shoe? Because that's what it's going to be like during the game. So we can't say, well, we've never been in that type of environment before. We have. And will it help? I hope so. That's why we're doing it.
All right, Coach Day, thank you very much for your time. I'm actually going to ask everyone to stay for a little while longer. We were going to have a little bonus coverage for you. We got Justin Fields on the call right now, and we're going to spend a little time with Justin here. We'll start out with Dave Biddle from 247 Sports. Dave, go ahead and ask a question for Justin. No, Dave. All right, Bill Landis, if you have a question for Justin.
Is he there? Oh, sorry, I can't see him.
Bill?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm right.
Hey, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Cool, thanks. Justin, you said the last time we talked to you about you were talking about working one-on-one with Coach Day, maybe a little more sort of as you were waiting for the season to arrive or practice to start up. What specifically were some of the mechanical things you guys were hoping to work on in that time?
Really just like basic stuff, just my stride and getting my front hip through. So just nothing crazy, just little fixes here and there, and really just kind of more working on the knowledge of the game and kind of just going through different defenses in our offense, because we have CJ and Jack, and they don't really know the offense as well as I do. So Coach Dennis has been working with them, and then while they meet with Coach Dennis, me and Coach Day, we meet, and then we kind of dive deeper into our playbook and talk about it more.
And Chris Olave was on with us earlier this week, sort of talking about how the final play of the Clemson game sat with him. I'm just wondering, when the play like that happens, and Chris seems to put a lot of it on himself, and I'm sure you think about it as well, like, does that help you guys form any kind of better connection? Do you try to work on timing maybe even more than you did last year, just to make sure you're totally in sync and try to avoid stuff like that, even if it's not on a stage like the Clemson game?
I mean, I think if that play would have happened or not, we would have been working the same amount we have been. So, whether or not that would have happened, I think we would have worked as hard as possible. But of course, that definitely sits unwell with us. So, I mean, everybody knows Chris is a great receiver. He's a hard worker. He's a great leader. So we've just been getting better in the offseason.
All right, next up, we'll go with Austin Ward from Lettermen Row with Bill Rabinowitz on deck. Austin.
Justin, is there any part of you that wants to get hit before October 24th?
No, not really. I mean, last year I didn't get hit before the season, so I think I'll be fine. I don't really plan to get hit that much. So I hope I don't get hit that much that first Nebraska game. But yeah, so not really. I don't really have the urge to hit anyone really.
And when you're in the quarterback room with these young guys, CJ and Jack, we haven't got to see them much, and they missed all of March and spring ball. What have you seen from those guys as they try and play a backup role behind you?
I think those guys are really hard workers. They're smart, and they really just want to get better. I think just from being around them, they're open to me talking to them and Coach Dennis talking to them. So if the biggest thing I see with CJ and Jack are just their urge to get better and their urge to learn.
All right, next up, we got Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch with Tony Gerdeman on deck. Bill.
Hi, Justin. The last time we talked to you, it hadn't come out yet about the change in your diet. Could you kind of explain what the diet is and what made you decide to go with that?
Yeah, it's just a basic vegan diet, really. So I don't eat meat, dairy, or fish or anything like that. I eat fish like maybe once in a blue moon, but yeah, it's just that. And then my dad actually wanted to do it because he was kind of heavy, so I just tried it with him, and then it kind of turned into a family thing. So first we started off as a 28-day challenge. It was really a cleanse, and then I just like how I felt after that, and just kept going on from there. So I'm doing it now, and I feel great. My body feels great, and I feel faster and stronger.
When you first kind of proposed it, was it you or your dad had it come up, and were you skeptical at first?
Nah, I'm pretty open to new things. I'm not really skeptical about trying new things. So when my dad brought it up, I think it was initially going to be my dad, my stepmom, and my sister, and I said, you know what, I might as well join them and get them on the little competition we had. So just joined them, and we had fun with it, and I think members benefited from it.
And just real quick, could you just kind of give your assessment of how the other quarterbacks are doing right now?
Yeah, they're doing great. They're both getting reps with the two, so they're competing right now. But they're both doing awesome. They're both fast learners, and they're both, of course, talented. I mean, if they weren't talented, they wouldn't be here at Ohio State. So they both can sling the ball, and they're both very athletic. So I think they're doing pretty good.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
All right, next up, Tony Gerdeman from Buckeye Scoop. Tony.
Justin, speaking of freshmen, how have you seen those 4 freshman receivers grow since the winter? How much of a contribution do you expect from them this season?
I mean, I think they've grown a lot. Not really on the physical side of the football because they've already were there physically wise, but the biggest thing with them was kind of getting them in the playbook and kind of getting them on the same page as me. But I mean, all of our freshman receivers are great. They're talented. I mean, and I just can't wait for this upcoming season. I think they're gonna be a big part in our offense and definitely rotate a little bit. So you guys should see them out on the field a little bit.
And then regarding the diet, what did Coach Mick think?
I think Coach Mick was skeptical about it first, and so was our nutritionist. But I think I proved to them that that I can do that and actually be able to perform even better than I was before. So I think after them seeing that with their own eyes, and then they started to believe that maybe this is working for them. So I think they're open to it now.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, next up, Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com with Dan Hope on deck. Nathan.
Yeah, Justin, also on the freshman receivers, how much more do you expect to know or learn about them once you guys get to start having full contact practices?
We've already been kind of having dud practices. I mean, I don't think we're going to learn that much about them, to be honest. I think I've seen a lot from them already and just what they can do out there on the field. So I don't think I have really much to learn more about them, to be honest with you.
Coach Day said that one of the things you're doing this year is just asking more questions, asking tougher questions in meetings and things like that. Where did that come from? Was that something, did you feel like you learned more in the off season and can now apply that? Or is that just from a year of experience?
I think it comes from a year of experience. Last year I was kind of new to the playbook. So, Coach Day and Coach Mike Yursich, they would kind of give me the play and kind of be like, yo, like it's either most likely going to be this guy or this guy or this guy open on a certain play. So now I can ask why we're calling a certain play or what Coach Day's goal is when it comes to calling that certain play. So I'm just kind of trying to pick Coach Day's brain and kind of get the reasoning behind why he's calling a certain play at a certain time of the game.
All right, next up, Dan Hope from 11 Warriors with Kyle Rowland on deck. Dan.
Justin, you mentioned the nutritionists. Kevin Wilson was saying last week that, they'll kind of do special meals for you because of a diet that you're on. Just kind of how does that work, and how much does that help that, you have people at Ohio State that are willing to accommodate what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, they do a great job. I really don't know if I'd be able to stick with it, if I didn't have them pretty much giving me food every day. But that they've done a great job. Basically, I go there, I eat breakfast, and then they usually have a meal made for me right before practice time. So I eat that before practice, and then they have vegan options, after practice for dinner for me to take home. So I really don't have to buy any food. They all make it for me there.
What are like your favorite vegan meals? What are maybe some things that you can eat that maybe people wouldn't know that you would eat?
I usually eat, sorry, my dog's right here, but I usually eat like a salad, like a tofu salad or like a tofu burrito or something like that. And, I think there's a lot of options. There's way too many options to kind of narrow it down because, I don't think I've experienced all the vegan options, but, all the things I've tried so far are great. And I think I'm getting a lot of other guys to, maybe try with me. I think Coach Day said he was going to try it. So, and I think to Roger Mitchell, he just started it like this week. So, just the more people that are trying it, saying that it's not as bad as they thought they were, as that they thought it was. But I like all the food that comes with it. And of course, there's going to be like meals that don't taste the best, but you have to sacrifice the taste buds for performance on the field.
And I know there are some NFL guys doing that, like Tom Brady and Cam Newton and such. As seeing them do that, does that inspire this decision by you at all?
No, not really, because I know guys' bodies react differently to food. So I think it's kind of a personal thing. I'm not really basing it off of what they do or, what they get the results off of, because I feel like everybody can't play football off of a vegan diet. So I think it just depends on your body type and how your body reacts to it.
Thanks, Justin.
All righty, next up is Kyle Rowland from the Toledo Blade with Jared Smalley on deck. Kyle.
Hey, Justin, more food questions. How, is this something you're planning on doing, like, super long-term, like, for the rest of your career? Or do you have, like,
I feel like I'll be doing this pretty much the rest of my career because I feel good.
And do you feel like are you less full? Or are you more like full and feel like you don't want to snack all the time? Like, how does it feel in that sense?
No, not really. I'm not necessarily more or less full. I guess I'm just normally full. I guess I don't know how to answer that question, but I eat when I'm hungry, of course, and of course, I try to eat more times throughout the day because some of the things that I eat may not have as much calories as, meat or different carbs and stuff like that. So I do have to eat more often, but stuff that I'm eating is healthier. And as I get, again, I feel great and I feel awesome from it.
So you're just eating like several smaller meals throughout the day. Is that kind of how it works?
So I'll pretty much break it down to you. So when I wake up, I usually either make avocado toast or I'll have a bagel with vegan cream cheese on it. And then I'll go and work out. And then after my workout, I'll drink a plant-based protein shake. And then I'll probably have some fruit. And then before practice, I'll eat one of the vegan meals that the Woody makes for me. And then I might have a banana if that doesn't fill me up. And then after practice, I usually eat dinner. And then go home, and then later that night I'll just make up another protein shake, and that's pretty much what I do every single day.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
All righty, next up is Jared Smalley from WCMH with Spencer Holbrook on deck. Jared.
Hi, Justin. A few minutes ago, Coach Day mentioned that some of the staff members are not currently staying at home because they're doing all they can to try to limit their spread or limit their exposure to COVID-19. You all this week started your daily testing for COVID. Wanted to know a little bit about how that adjustment has gone, that you're doing it every single day for you and the players, and also the commitment to it that you and the players now have as you're closer to the season, knowing what your staff is doing, the serious nature of this whole thing. Walk me through how you and your teammates are handling that.
Yeah, I think my teammates and I are handling it well. You know, Coach Day is constantly reminding us that we should stay socially distanced and, you know, try to stay away from as many people as possible. And he also said the other day, you know, the closer it gets to the season, the more risk you have. So I think the team understands that, and I don't think it's that big of a sacrifice to the team because I think everybody on the team is committed to playing this season, and we all want to do well. So we know in order for us to do well, we have to first take care of ourselves and make sure we stay COVID free. So I think it's a small sacrifice for a big reward, and you know, we just doing our best to just stay socially distanced and just make sure we stay safe out there.
And I'm sure you and your teammates have already seen games across the country that have been postponed or canceled because of it. We lost an NFL game this week because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So has that also been sort of that reality check of how serious this is?
Yeah, just having those examples, you know, Coach Day and Coach Mick, they do it. They literally tell us every day, like, to, you know, stay safe, make sure you're making smart decisions outside of the facility. And, you know, just seeing that, I think it's kind of it's kind of a reality check for the team, you know, that it's just because you're getting tested every day doesn't mean the virus goes away. So I think the team knows that we have to stay safe and make smart decisions outside of the facility.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
All right, next up is Spencer Holbrook from Lettermen Row with Patrick Murphy on deck. Spencer.
Justin, this has been a longer offseason than everybody's used to, and I'm sure you've dove into film the entire offseason. How do you make sure that you and Coach Day and Coach Dennis aren't really overthinking what you guys are doing at the quarterback position and make sure that you're just kind of still able to go out there and play football without overthinking because you've had such a long layoff?
Yeah, I think I've done more of the overthinking than Coach Day, but I've actually had to have a private conversation with Coach Day and, you know, talk to him about that subject, actually. But, you know, I think Coach Day, he's experienced enough, you know, he's been to the NFL to where he's had players maybe overthink in the past, and he knows how much talent we have on this team. And his number one thing is just don't overthink. If anything, just go out there and play your game. So I think Coach Day does a great job of reminding me that, and just you know, just the number one thing is just every time you go out in the field, just play your game, don't think, and just you know, just play.
Is it? And then I have to ask: is it hard to have a dog and also be a Heisman Trophy favorite?
No, not really. He actually keeps me busy at home because, you know, I'm not really hanging out with anybody, so it's just me and him the whole time. So we usually just chilling, watch Netflix movies when I'm home. So it's fun.
Thanks, Justin.
Yep.
All righty, next up is Patrick Murphy from 247 Sports with Colin Hass-Hill on deck. Patrick.
Justin, last year you obviously had a reliable guy in KJ in the slot. We talked to Garrett the other day about his move to the slot. I'm curious how you've seen that transition go for him and what he provides from that position.
Yeah, I mean, Garrett's a talented receiver. I mean, he might be one of the best receivers in the country, but of course he didn't really get to play that much last year. But I think he's going to make a big impact for us this year. I mean, he can really do everything. He has speed, he has hands, he can jump. I mean, there's really not anything he can't do. So just having him in the slot, you know, opens up our offense more because the defense, he can go in or out. You know, he has more routes that he can run. So just having him there, it's going to help us a lot on offense. And he's becoming a leader more and more every day. So I'm just glad he's there.
And you have been to SEC atmospheres. You've obviously played in the Big Ten. This year's going to be strange with no fans in the stands. I know you guys practiced at Ohio Stadium last week and are going to do so again. As a quarterback, how is that going to change stuff for you? How weird do you think that's going to be? I'm just curious from your perspective what you make of no fans in the stands.
Yeah, me, last year during the game or before the game per se, I really wouldn't get hyped. You know, I'm more of an even keel guy. So before games, I would listen to, you know, more slower music and stuff like that rather than pump up music just to keep my mind calm and to be able to think, because I think quarterback's more of a mind game and knowing what to do more than, you know, just going out there and hit somebody like a defensive player. So I think it's not going to change that much for me, but I think it is going to have an effect on other people. But it's our job to make sure we create energy throughout the team and, you know, just have energy when we play.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right, next up, Colin Hass-Hill from 11 Warriors with Doug Lamarice on deck. Colin.
Hey, Justin, when you look at what this offensive line is, how does it compare in your mind to what you guys had last year?
I think, our O-line this year is, of course, more experienced. I think Josh White and they're more comfortable in a leadership role. And I think with Harry, of course, he's a new starter this year. I think he's learning from those guys. And, of course, from that last video Ohio State posted, I think earlier this week, you guys see Harry's a very smart guy. So just having Harry there and then whoever's going to start at right tackle, I think those guys are just open to learn. And, the leaders they have on the O-line, they probably have some of the best leaders in the country. So just having the leadership we have on the O-line and just the coaching, I don't think it gets any better than that.
Did you try to have any influence on keeping Wyatt around this season?
Of course. I was calling Wyatt. I think I was kind of annoying him a little bit, but, that just what comes with it, because I think a quarterback is only as good as his O-line. So I'm trying to have the best O-line in the country because I know that's only going to make my job easier.
Thanks, Justin.
All right, next up, Doug Lamarice from Cleveland.com with Tim May on deck. Doug.
Justin, we know injuries are part of the game, but as you look back now, after you hurt yourself late last year, how much in the end do you think that affected you? And what does it do for an athlete? Are you even more excited to get back on the field, feeling completely healthy to maybe see, what you can do this year if you're not dealing with something like that?
Yeah. Later in the season last year, it had a big effect on me. There were times where off of the football field where it would hurt to walk. So, just being fully healthy now. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do this year because I haven't ever prepared like I prepared for a season like I have this past off season. So I'm just excited to be able to get out there on the field and just show the world what I can do, what my teammates can do, and just show how hard we've been working.
And Justin, I know obviously your goals are team goals and winning a championship and that kind of thing. But every great athlete also has individual goals, even whether it's about a Heisman conversation or awards or stats or anything like that. Just where are you in wanting to show people how good you are, or maybe trying to show you're as good or better than any player in college football? How would you describe your personal motivation for this season?
To be honest, my personal motivation is just to win games, because I know if we win games and I do my job and we all do our jobs, I think everything will take care of itself. So I think our main focus is to just win our first game and beat Nebraska. And if we prepare like that every week, like that's what we did last year. So if we prepare like that every week, I feel like everything will take care of itself. But going into last year, I had no idea that I was going to be a Heisman finalist. So just having all that. I think going into this season, I should keep the same mindset and just focus on winning each and every game.
Do you think you have the potential to be the best player in college football?
Most definitely. I feel like, I was gifted by God, and he's given me a lot of talent, but it's just up to me to, just use that skill and just get more and more skill and really just work on my craft each and every day to get better.
Thank you, Justin.
All righty, next up, Tim May from Lettermen Row with Clay Hall on deck. Tim.
Thank you very much. Justin, when you smell steak cooking now, what's your response?
I don't really have cravings on steak or chicken or anything like that. I'm kind of past that, especially after watching some movies on that stuff. So I really don't crave anything like that. But some guys on the team always mess with me, like, how do you not eat steak or something like that? But I don't really crave steak or anything like that, because I feel good with what I'm eating. So I think, just the diet I'm on right now, as long as it's helping me out, I don't mind, skipping a steak every now and then.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before I ask you about the offense, what was the meal that you really enjoyed before you became a vegan?
I feel like there's too many to name, but I feel like the mac and cheese, of course, something like that. Chicken tenders, really just kids meals, to be honest. I feel like I wasn't a fancy guy, just basic chicken tenders, macaroni and cheese, and just regular foods like that.
I got you. Last thing for me, if there's a sense that this offense could be as prolific an offense as Ohio State has ever seen, which is going back a long way, as you well know. What is your sense as you sit here today about that, about what you've got around you, about the offensive line you've got in front of you? And then also temper that with the idea, you know, I know you've watched games over the last couple of weeks. Some teams have had kind of slow or sloppy starts. How are y'all going to attack that aspect of it? But first, answer that first question. Do you have a sense this could be a ridiculously prolific offense?
Yeah, I think we definitely have one of the most talented offenses in the country, but talent only gets you so far. So if we are able to execute, aren't able to stay disciplined, none of that talent will matter. So what we're focused on right now is just to, you know, make sure we're doing everything right, everything the right way, everything the coach is telling us to do. And as long as we stay disciplined and as long as we do our jobs the correct way, I think, you know, the sky's the limit for this offense.
Name one player who's jumped out at you in just workouts on the offense that nobody knows about.
Nobody knows about on offense. I would say Jameson Williams has been doing a pretty good job at receiver lately, and also Trey Sermon. He's really picked up the offense quickly, and I think he's determined. He's a hard worker. He's a smart learner. He's just everything you would want in a player. So I think both of those guys are going to have great years this year.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
All right, you got time for just a couple more questions. We'll go with Clay Hall from WSYX. Clay.
Yeah, Justin, since you're co-starring with your buddy there, what's his name, his breed? How long have you guys been together? And maybe you give us a little better shot of the big fella, your dog.
Yeah, my boy's name is Uno. You know, I really didn't know what to name him when I got him last year, so I asked around for suggestions, and the best one I got was Uno, of course, because I'm number one. But he's a French bulldog. I've had him over a year now, I think. So I think I got him like right before last season. But here he is, right here.
Yeah,
he's a little bit over one now. So.
And one more thing. So he's your bud. I heard you say plant-based shake.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. That's a tough sell, brother. I mean, is that like broccoli or kale?
You know, not broccoli.
That?
I'm more of a chocolate guy, so I usually put chocolate almond milk in it, and then plant-based protein powder, chocolate nut, and then I also sometimes put a banana in there, but other than that, I just use that. So,
okay.
I mean, you know, if you ever want to try one, just come to Woody and I'll cook one up for you.
So chocolate is legal.
Chocolate is legal if it's plant-based, yeah. Chocolate is legal.
Thank you for the
not all chocolate though, not all chocolate. Not like candy bars or anything like that, but the chocolate I eat is.
So you don't put a Nestle Crunch in there?
Nah, I can't do that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.
All right, last set of questions for Justin will come from Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Justin, how do you think it's maybe benefited you guys from getting more practices in at the Horseshoe this preseason?
I think it's benefited us a lot. You know, just what Coach Day said. I was on the back end of his meeting. I think that's pretty much what the game's going to be like. So just being able to practice in there and kind of get a feeling of what the game is going to be like, I feel like it's going to make us more comfortable when it actually comes up in 3 weeks. So I feel like, you know, the benefit of having the stadium there and having, you know, just that game like sense feeling, I feel like it's just going to be like another practice and pretty much what Coach Day said.
You said you listen to calm music before the game, typically to calm yourself. What kind of music do you listen to? It's calm music.
Yeah, I really listen to calm music more than I do hip hop music, to be honest with you. But I listen to like R&B music. I listen to Summer Walker, Bryson Tiller, Drake, pretty much all of that. So I'm kind of a different in the music category. You know, most guys on the team, they listen to, you know, upbeat hip hop music, but I'm more of a chilling, laid back guy in terms of what I listen to.
All right, Justin and Uno, thank you very much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time, and have a great day today.
Thanks. Y'all have a great day. Appreciate y'all.
And
Thanks, Justin.
Before y'all leave the call, just one quick note. Jerry will be in touch with you. We're going to have a little bonus coverage for you tomorrow, a photo and video window from the practice at Ohio Stadium. So he'll be in touch with more details, but we will have a photo and video window for you tomorrow.